You're watching the Isaiah Factor Uncensored.
And welcome back to the second half of the Factor Uncensored. I guess 200 times is the charm. The U.S. Senate has passed an anti-lynching bill and is now headed for the president for his signature. But as many as my guests explained tonight, that bill really isn't going to make much of a difference.
As much as I would like to rejoice with those who are celebrating the passage of this law, I hate to be the Donald Downer, but I'm going to be that. Because in truth, Isaiah, in 2019, the House passed this same piece of legislation, and it was blocked or not passed in the Senate. Now the Senate passes it unanimously. So there were people who voted against it coming to the floor or being voted on then that now have voted unanimously. My concern is that just like with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, how those things turned around, how it turned into convict leasing and eventually the prison pipeline. The 14th Amendment gave corporations personhood over ourhood because these were the Reconstruction Amendments. And the 15th Amendment, why do we need a Voting Rights Act that gets renewed every so many years? So my concern is that this law, as it's passed, will not benefit the idea of the Ku Klux Klan or neo-Nazis or white supremacists snatching some black person and killing them, or Mexicans, as it was in the case of the Texas Rangers here, but it will be used against the very people that we think that it's for. So I'm deeply concerned about this law.
And when you say that, Dr. Muhammad, exactly what do you mean? Let's talk about specificity. When we say use for the people, it is to benefit or to help.
Well, according to all of the scholarship, the majority of people who were lynched, and it's named after Emmett Till, happen to be black. Okay. Now, I'm not excluding Mexican Americans and others who also were victimized or lynched, and others who were lynched. My concern is that, say, for instance, I have my good friend Ashton Woods on the program with us today. If some zealot, some religious zealot, say, wants to come after LGBTQ community and does to them what was done to blacks, will they be prosecuted under the same law? And others? So as we picture it as someone snatching Emmett Till because of a fake report that he wolf whistled a white woman and taken and killed and murdered, that could be turned around in any kind of way. And so my concern is that this law, as the Reconstruction Amendments did not benefit us or don't benefit us as much as we thought, perhaps this won't either.
Frank, let's hear from you on this. Hearing that the Senate has unanimously passed the Emmett Till legislation, anti-lynching law, making it a federal crime. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Isaiah, I would, I'm going to come at it, which I usually don't come at it from, which is more of a legal analysis. Although I'm a lawyer, I often talk concepts and politics, as you know. This particular law is framed in terms of a lynching law, but it's really not a lynching law. What it is a modification of the Hate Crimes Act. The bottom line of this law, what it does, is it basically extends the penalties, in this case, to 30 years from 10 years if one of these offenses is committed. I think it was a tribute to the terrible and horrific circumstance of Mr. Till that I think it was good that they named the statute after him. But in terms of actually being specified as to lynching, it doesn't really address that. In a sense, it's covered in terms of a hate crime act. So I mean, I think it was a good tribute to a horrible circumstance, as a memorial to it, and I think it does help the communities. But it also, as the good doctor says, can be used if, for instance, let's say a Mexican person goes out and shoots a cop because he doesn't like, an Anglo cop because he doesn't like white guys. Okay, it can be used against him, or it can be used against a gay person who doesn't like some straight person. That would be a hate crime too. So it can be reversed. It's not particular, although the title makes it sound like it is what I'm telling you.
All right, Ashton, let's hear from you on this legislation.
therein lies the problem. They just pointed it out, but let me put it more plainly. This protects white people. That's why you got a unanimous vote from the Republican Party with the Democratic Party in Senate. They can't get a damn thing done. But they got this done. They couldn't pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. They couldn't pass all these other bills that I've been going back and forth to Washington working on. But this is the one they passed, right? And what that says to me is that this is just like using the phrase people of color. When you say black, you mean black. When you say brown, you mean brown, whether that person is Asian Pacific Islander, AAPI, right? Or a Latinx person from one of the 180 Spanish-speaking countries in South America and North America. This speaks to the lack of competency, cultural competency, and the idea that they just wanted to pass something that pacifies people to say, oh, we got something on the books that protects people who are marginalized without actually defining what marginalization is and who the marginalized are.
Dr. Muhammad, would you agree with that assessment?
It seems like you have a unanimous vote going on here because we come at it from different directions, but we wind up at the same destination.
Right.
I mean, you really think about Emmett Till, you think about the horrific murder of him and others, and then you look at this. It really is just something. Again, I go back to the Senate blocked it in 2019, but voted unanimously. That to me, it's as cynical as you can get. And the bottom line is, once again, I look at the history of everything that we thought was for benefit black. Let's go to what Ashton talked about, or affirmative action in its initial stages was for black people to remedy that, or reparations as a concept. We never received that. We never really benefited from affirmative action, if you will. And I'm saying again that as this law, as Frank pointed out, as this law is, it's really kind of general, and anybody could be caught up in this depending on what their motivation was to commit a particular crime that's in this particular statute.
It's clear my panel agrees, sounds nice, but pretty much falls short the bill. After the break, we'll hear about the possible complications that could arise. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We're talking the anti-lynching bill tonight. After 200 times of failing to pass by Congress, the Senate finally did. But as my panel says, the bill doesn't really make much of a difference and could complicate some things.
This was packaging on a bill that really didn't do anything, but it extended it might get 30 years instead of 10 years for committing one of these hateful crimes. But it wasn't directed toward the Black community. It wasn't directed toward any specific marginalized community. But it's a nice packaging, and it extends the penalties, is what it does effectively.
Well, that's the danger in it, right? Because when you have things like this that criminalize as Blackness and criminalize as brown folk, what if the Asian woman walking down the street beats the guy up who decides they want to go and slash her in the face with a razor blade? Because let us not forget that the Asian community, whether they are from Southeast Asia or from China or wherever, have been being attacked for the last X amount of years. Say it's a Jewish person where anti-Semites have been showing up in record numbers. Hate crimes have increased. And so the reality for me is, as a Black gay person in the Black Lives Matter movement, is that when I look at my intersections, my intersectionality, the reality is that I don't feel protected. What I've been told is that if I decide to defend myself, I am subject to being in jail for 30 years. And that's what I hear. Just like the Sandra Bland Act, when I worked on that, they took and turned it into a mental health bill when we know Sandra Bland did not kill herself. Right? Suicides among Black people are going up, but when we're talking about this from a sociological point of view, we're not looking at the actual data and basing it on the DSM-5 or 6 or the information as a student of sociology who has to look at these numbers on a regular basis. No one's looking at the real data. Just like when we ask, why do you want to raise the budget for policing when you don't have the data to provide to show why you need this money? Show us the money and show us why you need it. Just like with this law. How's this law going to be funded? How's it going to be enforced? What is the Department of Justice going to do? And how does it interact with state law, like states here in Texas, where we have bigots in wheelchairs who like to hate on everybody that ain't white or straight or religious?
This
All right.
statute.
Go ahead, Frank.
This statute actually, as most federal statutes, to answer a little part of what you just said, would have to involve some type of interstate commerce or interstate crime, at least, or if you use the phones or you send money to somebody to help you. I mean, if you anything, that's the only way this statute's triggered. It's not triggered. Right. It's not triggered at. Otherwise, it's local law enforcement, and I hear what you're saying, and I absolutely do, and that's why I said at the beginning, it's a dressed up statute, but it's not targeted to the issues that you're raising, my friend. It's not targeted.
Exactly, and there's a difference between shall versus may. As a person who's walked the Texas legislature on a regular basis and gotten bills passed on behalf of Black Lives Matter Houston and Houston's Black community and all Black Texans and the U.S. Congress, I can tell you there's a lot of shalls versus mays, and I think there's a lot more may than shall, and that's a dangerous thing. That's a dangerous precedent.